Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Scorebook Stories. Hope you enjoyed the All-Star game, the home run derby. I knew Cal Raleigh was going to get the win. Hope you enjoyed everything about All-Star Week. Hope you enjoyed the draft. Hopefully some of these prospects that your favorite team drafted end up working out the way that everyone always would expect. But today we are going to dive in a little deeper to each team going into the trade deadline and what I'm expecting them to do, along with a couple other players that I expect teams to buy or sell at the trade deadline. And we're going to start things off with the AL East. I think the Blue Jays are going to be buyers. Currently, they're at the top of the AL East, and if they want to stay there, they definitely need to buy aggressively. They have a great opportunity right now to win the division straight up, but they need to add a few key players in the bullpen, and I think maybe even an outfield bat would be a huge win to solidify this roster. One of the guys that I would be very excited to see the Blue Jays go after is Kenley Jansen. I think that would be a great target for the Blue Jays going up to this trade deadline. Then we have the New York Yankees. I think they need to be extremely aggressive at the deadline, and they also, I think, really need to attempt to do their best to hang on to their top 10 prospects. If they're able to keep most or all of their top 10 guys in the farm system, they're going to be in a good spot. And if they are going to get rid of a top prospect like Spencer Jones, it cannot be for a rental player. It needs to be for a guy that has years left and is going to stick around on the Yankees roster for a few years. The Yankees definitely are going to look to add a top pitcher and a true third baseman that's going to make an impact right away. I think one of their main targets is definitely a Eugenio Suarez from the Diamondbacks. I think him going to the Yankees will be a huge upgrade for New York at that third base position. I also have seen a lot of people talking about Sonny Gray going to the Yankees, but I'm not entirely sure what the Cardinals are actually going to end up doing, but we're going to talk about them a little later. Then we move on to the Red Sox, where they're kind of in a weird spot right now. I really don't know what they're going to do. Jarren Duran is a name that has been thrown around a lot. And if the Red Sox decide to move him, they better just make sure that they make it count, unlike they did with the Mookie Betts trade. That's all that I'm going to really say about the Red Sox. If they get rid of Jarren Duran and they don't get anything really proven in return, it's just going to be a mess, and it's going to prove that the Red Sox are just not trying to win ball games. The Rays, I think, are going to be sellers. They're going to sell some of their more reliable talent, but not superstars like Danny Jansen. I think that's a guy that's probably going to end up getting moved. They're likely out of a playoff spot right now, but they do have the ability to go on some runs. They do have the ability to win some ball games and win ball games in bulk. So I think they're a very solid team right now. And I think because of their skill level and their roster productivity, I think it definitely allows them to be a little more flexible at the deadline. They can be a bit more picky about what they are prepared to give up for any given player. It doesn't necessarily have to be a top star that they want to sell off to try to get more prospects, but I would not be surprised if the Rays end up moving anyone who has played first base for them, because they have two absolute studs in the minor leagues right now that are first basemen and probably will be ready for the MLB in the next 1 to 2 seasons. So I would not be shocked, because of their depth in the farm system at first base, if they go to trade anyone that has played first base and get a pretty big return, especially for Jonathan Aranda. The Orioles, I think, are going to sell pretty much anybody that is not anybody that has no team control. They're probably going to look to move them. Like Ryan O'Hearn, I think he's gone. The Orioles, they've looked absolutely awful this season, and I think it's time to let go of some of the veteran pieces for sure that are just not helping this team win the way that they had planned. Ryan O'Hearn, I think, is one of the guys that's going to be available at the trade deadline for the Orioles. He probably also is going to fetch 3 to 5 solid prospects that are going to need a little bit of development. I don't think he's going to be able to get the Orioles a number 1 or a top 10 prospect, but he's going to be able to get them someone that's reliable for sure. Moving on to the American League Central, I think the Tigers are going to be buyers for sure. I think they need to look for very specific pieces, and a veteran infielder with a reliable bat would definitely be a huge help for this solid team already. The Tigers also could go looking for some more strikeouts in the bullpen, but it's got to be for the right things. I don't know exactly what the Tigers have in their minor league system. I think they're pretty solid, but I'm not 100% sure about that. So I'm not sure how much they actually have to move for veteran guys. So I think a guy that they could end up targeting that would be reliable for them would be Yoan Moncada. He's hitting around 250 right now. It's just his defensive ability, I think, is just a little more reliable than what Colt Keith offers at third base, and I think it could help the Tigers a little bit more. Not too crazy of a deal, but it still is an improvement for Detroit, I think. The Guardians, I think, are going to be sellers at the deadline, even though they're in second place. I really think that the Guardians are looking for a way to better stabilize their organizational depth. They need to sell at this deadline, even though they're second in the division. They need prospects that they can mold into guys that are going to put them in a position to win the division every single year. So that way they don't have to kind of live and die by Jose Ramirez. I think they need more studs on this team. Cleveland, I think, is just an organization that's been kind of right in the middle. Sometimes they squeak into a wild card spot. They need some more consistency out of more players that are not named Jose Ramirez. And I think the best way to do that is to go out and sell some of your better players that may be coming to the end of their deal for prospects that you can mold into stars. The Twins, I think, are kind of in the same boat. I doubt the Twins are going to do anything really crazy at the deadline, but I would not be surprised if they send Byron Buxton to a contender for some top prospects. The Twins seemingly are out of the playoff picture right now, but I mean, I guess technically they still can get in, obviously, but I think Buxton would get a handful of prospects for Minnesota if they end up dealing Byron Buxton to somebody else. The Royals, I think, are going to be buyers, surprisingly. I think that they are still really pushing hard to win this division or claim a wild card spot. They're in fourth place right now, but they still have a great ball club. I think that if they buy the right pieces, they can put themselves in a great position to get the job done. A couple of outfielders, maybe even some more bullpen help. It's going to be the key at the deadline for Kansas City to be successful. The White Sox are bad, so they should just sell pretty much anybody that's worth anything that isn't on a rookie contract or a rookie deal. They need to build. I think that under new ownership, because I think that deal is going to be completed by the end of the season, they could be in a better spot. But if they don't have any prospect of a future, then this new owner is not going to make that much of a difference. So they need to just sell anybody that's really worth anything. Moving over to the AL West, I think the Astros need to be buyers. The Astros seem to just find a way to be successful in the AL West every single year. And if they can manage to make one big trade and give up some big prospects for a star, followed by a couple small trades to kind of recoup some prospects, I think that's going to put them in a good position by the end of the season. One guy I think the Astros should try to target is Brandon Lau from Tampa Bay. I think he would be a good fit for the Astros, and he would definitely solidify the second base position for Houston. The Mariners, I think they need to be buyers, and they need to buy somebody big. They have one of the top farm systems in baseball. I believe they're in 5th ranked or 6th ranked. They're up. They're very, very good. They have a very good farm system, and I think they can afford to give up some of their guys that are currently in the organization's top 10 to top 15 to 10, somewhere in that range, because some of those guys would be inside the top 10 for a number of other systems. So I think that the Mariners would be a very good landing spot for Jarren Duran if the Red Sox do decide to deal him. And if the Mariners and Red Sox are in talks for Jarren Duran to go to Seattle, the Mariners have a great haul of prospects that they can send to Boston for Jarren Duran, and it could be a successful trade for both sides, in my opinion. The Rangers, I think, are going to be sellers. They're kind of middle of the road right now. I would not be surprised to see them make a move to rebuild for next year. Anyone on the Rangers who has an expiring contract or could fetch a top 20 prospect or two probably is going to be dealt. So a guy like Adolis Garcia, I think he's on the block. I really do. I think he could end up going to a team like Philadelphia that could use outfield help. The Angels, I think, are just going to sell everybody with an expiring contract. They're in a position right now where they have guys that are good ball players. They're playing some solid baseball. They just can't win. So if they have any guys that are at the end of their contracts and they're going to be free agents this upcoming offseason, ship them off. Get rid of them for prospects who are going to be MLB ready by 2027. And I think it is a deal that they will have to take in order to successfully rebuild this team. They have been sputtering and stuck in this weird rut for a very long time. And I think it is time to sell off guys that are going to actually bring in prospects that are going to be able to successfully rebuild the Los Angeles Angels. The Athletics, I think, are a team that is going to sell very lightly and very specifically and very picky. The A's started off the season on fire and they were performing very well. I still think this team is playing great baseball. They are so much fun to watch. They have a lot of young guys that are incredible and have a very high ceiling. And I do believe that they're going to be sellers, but they're going to be very picky. They're going to pick and choose who they want. They're going to pick and choose who they want to sell. It's probably going to be some of their older talent that is on the roster for guys that can fill in Double-A and High A. Probably. I don't think they're going to be making any major moves, but they're definitely in a position now where they have their young core that they want. And I think they're going to be successful in the long term. Stay up to date on everything going on in the sports world by heading over to 7 Mountain Sports on Facebook, 7 Mountain Sports on X, on Instagram. We are on all of your favorite platforms, and you do not want to miss out on a single thing going on here at 7 Mountain Sports. Moving over to the National League, I think the Philadelphia Phillies in the East are going to be big-time buyers. They're going to be very aggressive. They need a bullpen. They need outfielders. I think the Phillies have a reliable lineup with okay defense as a whole, but they need an outfielder who's going to be significantly more reliable than what they currently have, and they need a guy that's going to be able to play every single day to kind of put an end to this rotation of 3 or 4 guys that they have right now. It's just nobody can get in a groove out there in the outfield for the Phillies. So they need a guy that's going to be an everyday, consistent, productive outfielder for them. And they also have no bullpen. If the Phillies get out to a little bit of a lead, it's likely gone because of their weak pitching and relief. I think David Bednar is going to be a huge target for the Phillies, as well as Cedric Mullins. I think those two guys would be huge helps to the Phillies, or Adolis Garcia. Even Byron Buxton, if the Phillies have some pretty solid prospects that are probably not going to be MLB ready for a little while, I think you could see some of these prospects for the Phillies get moved for a top star like Byron Buxton, and it wouldn't be too big of a shock. The New York Mets, I think, are definitely going to be buyers. The Mets, I think, were expected to be the LA Dodgers of the East. They were going to be unbelievable, but that just didn't happen. Didn't really turn out that way. I think they definitely need some help at the plate. They've been kind of sputtering. They haven't been as consistent. Outfielders, pitchers, I think, are going to be in the sights for the Mets this entire couple weeks going up to the deadline. But they will likely need to make a sweet deal to get some help now, especially due to the amount of teams, I think, that need pitching. There are a ton of top pitchers out there that are bullpen relieving arms that everyone needs. Every team in baseball, all these top buyers need bullpen help. And if the Mets want to get one, they're going to have to probably overpay a little bit in order to steal somebody away from someone like the Yankees or the Phillies. They're going to need to make a really big deal. The Marlins, I think, are going to be sellers. They're going to sell off expiring contracts and stars that they can get a haul for. I think they're out of the divisional race. It's likely not going to be a playoff year for Miami. So I think they just need to start looking for guys that have value and sell them off to try to build your roster towards next season. Braves definitely are in a similar boat, but they need to sell for the farm. They need to rebuild their farm system badly. They don't really have anyone down there. And if they have a piece that's going to get them a major return in the form of young prospects, they need to pull the trigger and they need to rebuild and reestablish their farm system so they can eventually grow and reestablish themselves as a true threat in the National League East. Because like I said multiple times before, the NL East right now is just a two-horse race. It is between the Phillies and the Mets, and it's probably going to come down to the end of the season for those two teams, and that's it. The other three they're out. I don't see a world where the Braves, Marlins, or Nationals get into the playoffs by way of the division. And the Nationals, speaking of them, they need to be very strategic, very similar to the A's. They have a good young core, a lot of young talent that shows a lot of potential with a really high ceiling. So they need to keep that momentum going. They need to offload some of their older stars that can fetch some top prospects, and the Nationals will be on pace to complete their rebuild successfully like they have been trying to do. They have great young stars, great young talent that they will be a playoff team again, but they need to just continue with the strategy that they have set forth. And I think a big help at the deadline this year is going to be to get rid of some of their older veterans and get some younger stars that they can send to AAA and AA that are going to be up in the next 2 to 5 years. Moving over to the NL Central, you have the Cubs. The Cubs' main priority right now should be pitchers. If the Cubs can add a reliable arm to their starting rotation, then they're definitely going to finish this season on top of the NL Central, hands down, no doubt. The Cubs, I think, could also use an extra arm in the bullpen that gives up a little bit of weak contact or is more reliable with strikeouts. Something like that could be helpful for them as well. But I could see the Cubs going out and trying to buy a starting pitcher. Somebody like Mitch Keller, I think, would be a huge help for the Chicago Cubs. The Brewers need to kind of just get anything, really. They're in a really weird position, I think, because they really don't have a lot to trade away. The Brewers, anybody that really on the Brewers that really is worth anything to trade away is a fundamental piece to that organization right now, or they're going to be stars very, very soon, like Miz. I don't see a world where the Brewers really make a huge splash and make a really big deadline move, but they need to do something to try to put themselves in a better position to steal this division away from the Cubs, because there is no team in the NL Central that will make it to the playoffs via the wild card spot. It's just not going to happen this year. So they need to find a way to get a key player that's going to be reliable and productive to put them in a better position to steal this division away from the Cubs. The Reds, I think, are going to be buyers. I think the Reds are kind of a weird team right now. They have playoff talent. They have young talent. And I think they need to give up some key prospects for proven stars that have years left. Most of the Cincinnati roster is young enough that they're going to be around for several years yet. I think they're going to be around long enough that they can rebuild their farm team for like a couple years down the line. A big trade for a big star with years left is probably a target for the Cincinnati Reds to successfully break out of this weird funk that they're in and put them in a higher gear to push towards playoffs. If they are not successful from now going up to probably July 29th, 28th, I would not be shocked if they try to sell off some of their expiring contracts like Emilio Pagan, Nick Martinez, guys like that. I would not be surprised if they end up getting put on the move if the Reds are kind of struggling here out of the All-Star break. The Cardinals, I think, are going to be selling expiring contracts and large deals. They're going to just get rid of them. Sonny Gray, Nolan Arenado, Contreras, they're probably all likely out the door by July 31st for prospects that we're going to see in a Cardinals uniform in like maybe 5 years. The Cardinals are in a weird spot. They need to figure out what they're going to do. Do they want to be competitive this year? If they think that they still have a shot at winning this division this year, then you can't move those guys. You just can't. You're not going to win this division without Sonny Gray and Nolan Arenado. You're not. There's no way the Cardinals win this division without those three. So if they are done with the year, they want to give up, they want to hang it up and just start building the future, these three need to be out the door for top 15 prospects. They need to be studs. They need to be near MLB ready as well, I think. The Pirates, in typical pirate fashion, nearly everyone, the whole roster, it's all in trading block. Whoever wants a free player, look at Pittsburgh. They'll give them to you. Outside of Oneil Cruz, Andrew McCutchen, Paul Skeens, and Brian Reynolds, I would not be surprised if anyone on the Pirates gets traded away by the deadline. Adam Frazier is already gone. Adam Frazier was traded back to the Royals for a prospect, a pretty decent prospect. He is 28. He's a little bit older for a quote-unquote prospect, but he's still reliable. He's hitting almost 300 in AAA. Like he's a good infielder. Nothing too fancy, but still something I think Pirates fans can be excited about. But I wouldn't be shocked if IKF gets traded, Nick Gonzalez gets traded, Jared Triola gets traded, Mitch Keller, Andrew Bednar, Santana. The list goes on. Anybody in a Pirate uniform that is not Oneil Cruz, Andrew McCutchen, Paul Skeens, and Brian Reynolds would not be shocked if they get traded, like at all. Moving out to the NL West and the final division for this episode to talk about for trade deadline stuff. The Dodgers, they got to be buyers, right? Like the Dodgers have a great roster right now. But they got to be buyers. They have injuries all over the place. Their entire bullpen is hurt. Their entire rotation is hurt. I really do expect the Dodgers to be buying. They're going to probably trade away some of their prospects for rental arms that might even have some options left. Like if they can buy bullpen pitchers that have 1 or 2 minor league options left, I wouldn't be shocked to see them go to the Dodgers, because once these guys that they have on the injured list start getting healthy again, the Dodgers could run into some roster issues. And if they trade for players that don't have minor league options, they're going to have to DFA some top guys coming off the IL that are definitely going to be picked up by other organizations. Offensively and defensively, they're probably not going to do anything major because they're set at the plate and in the field, in my opinion. They just need to figure out what's going on with a lot of these arms. Are they coming back? When are they coming back? They need to try to gauge that before they really make any major moves to add pitchers to the rotation or the bullpen. The Padres need to buy aggressively. I think the Padres have pitching down. They're solid that way. But if they can add an arm that's going to improve their bullpen for a very little cost, they probably are going to do that. But what they really need to work on is their offensive depth and production. If they can manage to get 1 to 3 reliable bats, they can put them in a good fight to finish up and end in a wild card spot, if not win the division. That's going to be the goal for the San Diego Padres. The Giants are going to do the same thing. They're going to continue to buy. They made a good trade for Devers, in my opinion. And I think that they need to get some of the guys that have shown production in the past out of San Francisco and build more well-rounded and complete roster. If they can do that, I would not be shocked if the Giants are able to jump the Padres and move into a wild card spot. This is going to be one of the tightest divisions, in my opinion. The Diamondbacks are another question mark team. They are likely out of playoff contention just for the sole fact that they're in the NL West. Like they're trying to overtake the Padres, Giants, and Dodgers, who are all really good teams, and they're all looking to buy. So the Diamondbacks need to make a decision. Are they going to continue to fight for this division that is not necessarily out of reach, but it's going to be really difficult to overcome and win this division? I think the best road for the Diamondbacks is going to be to sell, but sell picky. Be very, very particular about what you're trying to sell. They have a lot of top talent that is definitely worth top 10 prospects. And I think they have the freedom here to really decide what prospect package they want from any organization for their top guys, like Ketel Marte, like Eugenio Suarez. They really can be a little picky and probably force a couple teams to overpay for what they are giving up. The Rockies just suck, and they need to sell everybody that they can get 2+ prospects for. Like, if you can get 2 or more, sign it, send them, trade them away, make the deal. Primarily, I think they should sell outside of the division if they can, just because I wouldn't want my top guys going within the division and hanging around for a while, and now when you finally get these prospects developed, your former players are preventing you from making a playoff spot. It's probably not that big of a deal. I think if you can get a solid prospect package out of any of the teams in the league, literally any of them, they should take it, sell them all. Ryan McCann or anyone else that is worth anything in the Rockies organization on the Major League roster, sell them, trade them, get them out of Colorado, and start actually building a real farm system, because they're a terrible organization right now and they have a lackluster farm system. You got to have success at one of the levels. Are you going to have a good farm system that is going to develop your team for the future, or are you going to be a win now organization? The Rockies are neither. They suck in Colorado and they have a rough farm system. Sell anyone at the MLB level who can bring in future stars and do it now. That's where I'm at with the Rockies. But July 31st is not that far away. So make sure you come on back here to Scorebook Stories next week, because I got a feeling this week is going to have some absolutely awesome trades that are just going to be the tip of the iceberg for what is to come in the future. I'm Alec. Thank you for watching Scorebook Stories. Make sure that you are subscribed right here on 7 Mountain Sports on YouTube, or make sure you're following the podcast on all social media platforms, and follow 7 Mountain Sports on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok. You can follow us over on TikTok as well. And if you're looking for even more sports content, head on over to our website, 7mmsports.com, and you will find everything that you possibly can. I'll see you next week right here on Scorebook Stories.